Some imagination, huh?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the season premiere of Open Mic Night. That's right, the regulars are back today on a new channel, sort of, as we are still broadcasting on the Jeff Meacham Network as well. We've got the West Coast professor, Jeff Meacham. We've got James Hebert. We've got the simple man, Noah Foster. And we have a very special guest coming into the studio today. We've got the lovely Miss Jessi Davin coming in to talk about her latest article that she wrote.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here to talk about it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's good that we have you here because, man, it's timing of the essence probably right now, especially the day after All Out with all the craziness that happened. So again, very, very appreciative that you're on with us tonight for sure.
I'm glad to be here. A good Buckeye win, as Josh says. IO, so I'm happy. I'm riding high on that win, so I'm living off of adrenaline a little bit.
Ohio represent.
Yes.
Loving seeing Josh and Cleaver in the chat room, boys. OH!
IO.
Ohio takes over the internet.
We are taking we got 3 words for I can't do the promos fast.
OVE, Ohio versus everything. Let's go.
OVE.
There we go. Anyway.
There you go.
Got a lot of people coming in today. This is awesome.
Yeah, there's
Seeing
a lot
some
of people ready for
regulars,
this.
seeing some people that I've never seen before. So for all of you joining the chat room, thank you so much. Let's get right down to business here.
Right.
I guess we'll start off with what inspired the article for those of the people in the chat room that haven't read it yet. What was your inspiration for the article?
Well, it's a culmination of things. I've been doing a lot of independent research on I'm a person who struggles to understand like evil and the why, but I have this yearning to try and understand evil and why. So I've been doing a lot of research into like mass casualty events, more specifically ones that have recently happened, and how helpless you can feel after something like that happens. And then to see like all the people that complain and moan about it that actually have power do absolutely nothing about it, no matter what side you're on. I was really like, okay, well, I think I'm tired of feeling helpless. I'm tired of feeling scared. What I can do is become aware, become a person that can help change the community that I live in and the communities that I associate with for the better. So on top of doing all of this research and reading, studies and books and things like that on kind of the dangers of technology and the role that technology can play in this stuff, I've been relentlessly harassed. I've been stalked. I've had to go to court. I've been threatened with my life. I've had my kids threatened. And I've been made fun of for a disability that I did not choose to have. So it kind of just, for a long time, I went through the kind of like, woe is me, or, kind of like anger. And then I was like, I have these two kind of like worlds that I'm like involved in, this research world and this pro wrestling world. And I'm seeing a lot of like intersecting, and I'm seeing a lot of merging here that I'm very concerned with. And as I read on and did more research and learned about like it's kind of hilarious, but especially considering me, but it's called leakage and attack related behavior, I was like, there's some of this going on in our community. And so the article was tough to write, not because it was like something I was scared to write. I was super happy to write it. I've been wanting to write that for a long time, but it was very difficult to write something like that without providing evidence.
Yep.
And I do have a stance where I don't like to name mass shooters because I feel like that gives them glorification.
Yep.
And if you read anything about mass casualty incidents and the people that perpetrate them, a lot of times they look up to other perpetrators of mass killings, and I felt like sharing the ideas like that I've read that they have like in their manifestos or their Discord logs or in their interrogations, or in the subsequent investigations that fall. I didn't feel like I wanted to share those ideologies, so I had to be very vague, which was really difficult. But I did my best to give examples, specifically of online incidences that have occurred, that have happened in the wrestling community and outside of the wrestling community. But it just provides, kind of a warning to, the IWC that we live in an age of technology and it's a blessing and a curse. And we are professional wrestling fans, and by nature, it is violent, which there's nothing wrong with liking pro wrestling because it's violent. We all like it. But I think the big red flag is not a big red flag, but I should say the big problem is with professional wrestling, there are blurred lines between reality and what is storyline. And that happens like in wrestling no matter what. We're always like, is this a work or shoot, work or shoot? And shoot, I know that's probably not the best word considering what I'm talking about, but that is when a danger can present, and that is when vulnerable individuals who are online can have those lines blurred even further. And with professional wrestling being that way and just seeing the alarming behavior that I've seen within the IWC, I was like, man, people need to know about this. People need to know these warning signs. People need to know how to recognize this and not attack these people. Check in on them. Make sure they're okay. Like, come at them with love, because I feel like there's a lack of love going on. And so I know I'm kind of ranting on that, but there was so much that went on that contributed to this, I guess, essay you want to say, that I wrote. And I felt like it was really important because, like I said, we're all on duty. We have to police ourselves. We can't rely on Twitter or, the police or whoever you think is in charge. You have to be in charge, and you have to be in charge, and you have to help the people that surround you, because hurt people, but healed people and helped people can help people.
Yep.
Absolutely. Number one, don't be ashamed to rant and ramble on. We deal with Jeff on a regular basis. He's known for rambling, so
I'm the king of it sometimes.
I'm just here to listen and give my 2 cents, because more so I'm just the guy here that listens. And again, Jessi, I completely can understand your conscious statement on the reality that is the internet resident community, as well as the real interpretation of how it really shapes our society.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest take, definitely, just from your opening inspiration to do this.
Yeah. Speaking of inspiration, Josh commented saying that Jessi is an inspiration in general.
Amen to that one.
The Cleaver says, hope you're doing well, fellow Ohioan, kidney cancer survivor. The two of you exchanged words once on Twitter. Thank you for the kind words at that time.
Thank you for being so awesome and being a badass surviving cancer.
And then Elizabeth Delgado, amazing to see you all together with someone I consider an inspiration in recent months. Hope you're doing well, Jessi.
Thank you. I hope you're doing well, Elizabeth.
I would love to comment specifically on one part of your inspiration, because I think, I did my own research in video form. There was a couple podcasts I've done, kind of delving into the toxicity of the IWC. It was like a 2 podcast type special, where one was a 2-parter, where we were kind of covering the, certain corny boy, and, just the radical way he kind of goes about expressing his opinion. And I think it's very important when you say, not only do people look up to, people who do the heinous crimes that, you kind of talked about in your article, but also people, whether they intend to or not, that have essentially had ideas or have expressed thoughts in harming certain people, like a Kenny Omega, for example. It's really stark to realize like how far we've kind of developed, how far it's just kind of gone completely left on that front. Like we just gone completely the opposite direction of where we should be going when it comes to stuff like this, and it's really concerning. So when you posted that article, I mean, I think the timing couldn't have been any better than it was.
Well, thank you. I did not mean to manifest the all-out brawl. If that
No, not at all. Absolutely not what I meant. Yeah.
No, I know.
I don't blame you for that at all.
But it is, no, it was impeccable timing.
Yeah.
I think, well, the reason I posted was because there's one particular user who I won't name who has been. I was reading this book and I was like, oh my god! I was like, this person's showing all of these signs of like someone who's gonna do this. I was telling my friends like, we need to call the FBI and stuff like that. I was like, I need to get this out now, and so I posted it like, I think, right after the all out thing. I think it was probably because I don't remember, but yeah, it's just I was like, this needs to be heard because I felt like that was just kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm so sorry, Greg. I know, Marshall. I wanted Notre Dame to win.
They had a rough morning, to say the very least, out there at the Fighting Irish, man. It's oof, tough day across the board for those guys. Hopefully they rebound.
This is the word of sport. You have a winner, you have a loser. Everyone puts their all in, but not everybody can be victorious.
That is the unfortunate part. Now they've done away with ties. Somebody's got to lose, and it is what it is.
One of the reasons I reached out to you, by the way, and the reason I wanted to have you on is because you were exactly what you said. Because you were so, you had to be so vague and you had to be so diplomatic. Which, by the way, I think all of us absolutely can appreciate you being as diplomatic as you were. But I also understand that at the end of the day, and you even said it, people are people, right? Hurt people, help people. At the end of the day, we're human beings, and I know you need to kind of have more of an open forum, especially when you cover the serious topics that you did, which is the whole reason I brought you on. Because I think you deserve a voice that's going to let you kind of just go and free flow. Like, that's basically what this show has been for me. I know it's been that way for Noah and JJ, especially for Jeff, since he started it with us. It's just I wanted that type of platform for you. So I that's one of the reasons why I'm glad you're here, for sure.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm really glad that I could go into a little bit more depth on this, and because it's so much to try to explain on Twitter. I mean, my God, I don't want to be one of those people that has to open up the notes app. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. On that one.
Friggin' post a novel, 2 screenshots. I know exactly what you're talking about. 240 characters cannot justify simply what sums up the blurred lines between actual human society and a particular part, not the only part, but the particular part we're focusing on here, the internet wrestling community.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Is there any other questions? I know I have my statements on it, but I didn't know if anybody else had any other questions on it.
Well, I think Sean has a question for y'all.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sean just sent in a $2 super chat, a little bit off topic. But, we always do say on Open Mic Night that, we get the super chats and they can kind of, interrupt the show. So we're going to take this quick hiatus. Does Liv beat Ronda at Extreme Rules?
Yes, and then Ronda and Shayna come together to take over the WWE and break everybody in their way, kayfabe-wise.
Yes.
Ooh.
Sure, why not?
What do you think, Jesse? Like does Liv beat Ronda at Extreme Rules?
On the spot.
No.
You've broken her.
No. Because why have Ronda go 0-3?
Right.
See, that's what I'm thinking. Why are you going to put a former UFC champion
This is
into
the
an
opposite of
Extreme
50-50
Rules
booking.
match
It's weird.
and have her lose
Well,
at Extreme Rules?
To be
Yeah,
fair,
exactly.
Triple H trying to change things. And Seth went 0-3 against Cody. Truth be told, he's not MMA background anyway, but they both still work under the same banner, and they both were still under the same type of storytelling. Who can beat the other? When does the win happen? Under what circumstances? Truth be told, none of those 3 matches involve a championship. One involved a Red Creative Hate. The other one involved WrestleMania rematch at Backlash. Hello, Dr. Seuss, but I digress.
And honestly, if they're
what it
still going to do Raw versus SmackDown at Survivor Series, I think there's more money with Ronda versus Bianca than there is with Liv and Bianca.
Yeah.
I still say the money match is Ronda Becky if they ever do it here. Please do it at WrestleMania, please.
But that's not till
guys do that
Mania. But that's not till
Seriously.
Mania. Survivor Series has been champion versus champion.
If it were,
I know.
So,
I'm just saying.
if I'm putting my booking hat on, which I usually do on podcasts like this, I'm making Ronda win somehow and get those the singles titles, and then I'm teaming Sonya Deville up with Shayna and just getting the tag titles because I think that makes the most sense
Ooh,
for
yeah,
all
that would
3
be good.
involved.
Honestly, I would like to see Shayna and Ronda have both the Raw and Women's Championships. Literally took over the WWE. Try beating those 2 together.
Yeah, that's fair
Oh my
too.
goodness.
And Mikey T at the Report Radio manifesting Ronda being taken out. No, Mikey T, that's a bad Mikey T. We actually need to get this match going. We need to make that thing. We need to make that a thing.
And man, I appreciate that.
Fantasy Booking 101.
It was great. It was great, minus the blimp on the radar of social media informing me that hey, this thing happened in this company you like. It's lovely.
And let's circle it back around to what we're talking about. So yeah, 240 characters cannot justify simply what defines society and this fabrication we fans have come to live in, known as the internet wrestling community. Some more than others, which has definitely changed their perception, not just on the industry, but their very lives themselves.
Yeah.
Right. I think, social media, the thing about social media, especially with Twitter, is it has both enhanced the experience, but it's also created, while enhancing the experience, it's also enhanced the dangers.
Yep.
It's, like I said, sometimes, you'll see, Chris Jericho being super in character, and then you'll post a picture of him and his wife at a concert and be like, me and my wife are having the best time. And you're like, wait a minute, weren't you just like insulting somebody 10 minutes ago? Like, it's social media very much has blurred the lines between what is real and what is kayfabe, and honestly, leaving it up to Twitter to decide what's a shoot and what's a work is not the best idea.
No,
especially when everybody's trying to judge it for themselves, and nobody comes up with a realistic answer to the point that
and then
drives
everyone
them
fights
insane
about
memory.
why their answer's right.
Right, and they want to believe that they are the gospel. They have the truth in front of their hands because they read it from some publication or they manifest it from their minds. Give me a break.
Right.
Twitter is simply opinion. People are simply a statement. Nothing is truth unless it's directly from the very person themselves. And you can't simply trust what you read on the internet.
No, that's why Wikipedia is not considered a scholarly source, because
Thank you.
anybody can, put anything on there. It's up to you to click the little number at the top of a statement and go read the source and see if that is actually what it says in the first place.
Right.
You have to be your own information advocate, especially on social media, and people don't realize that because they don't want to. They just want social media to be an escape. But it's not an escape when it starts to interfere with the way your boundaries between reality and fiction, and what is satire and what is serious.
Yep.
Human beings are not designed to read something and not put emotion to it. We're going to all read something, and because everything is subjective, we're all going to read something a different way. For instance, the text, okay, that can just mean, okay, or okay, or okay, or okay. You can put any emotion to it.
Exactly.
So everybody's going to react to it differently. Go ahead.
What's the just to lighten the mood up a little bit? What's the emotion when you say occasionally like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What?
For a moment, I thought James Hebert was gonna go South Park on me with the okay. I thought I was gonna go.
Oh
that
yeah. Oh man, we forgot about that emotion.
Drugs are bad. Okay.
James is getting crunk up in here.
Crunk.
We're not getting crunk up in here, okay? That's
You understand that reference? We love you for that.
Kids. You want the kids to be rather trained that way.
Right,
We don't need that sort of influence, okay? We just gotta be better.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm finding this eternally fascinating to just sit back and listen to, and the reason I say that is because I think this is the first week since I started my own stuff where I have like completely disconnected. I did a brief like 20-minute thing on, I think it was Thursday. It may have been Friday morning. I don't remember when it was. It was Thursday before the review, and I've not even. I read the article and it was wonderful and it was so perfectly timed and I can't even appreciate it enough in front of you, and with or without you on the air, I will totally kiss the butt of how awesome that was. But I've been watching Pinocchio this week with my family, and I've been watching Star Trek stuff, and I've just been enjoying not letting the Gaga get in because it got in deep into my brain Sunday night. Like I said, when we went off the air, I was so on a high, man. I got to, have a great pay-per-view call on my channel with this wonderful team here with me. I'm like, all right, that's a great note to go out on. And then I made the idiotic choice of watching the media scrum. I was like, oh, Phil, why you do, Phil? Oh, no. And then it just kind of snapped from there over the last few days. It's just unfortunate that, and again, I don't disagree with a lot of people that are saying, Phil, gets condemned, but, people that have done this stuff in the past, it's unfortunately the idea of retroactive condemning isn't always the best policy.
No.
Like, people screw up, but, you can't bring folks back, from the dead or, bring them back into the public eye if they're already gone. It's kind of, you have to handle the situation when it's at hand and handle it before it gets out of hand. It's already out of hand. Mm-hmm. But it seems like, at least on Wednesday night's broadcast, they seem to be moving forward on that front.
Exactly.
I love, and again, I'm trying very hard to not completely crawl down people's throats or, ignorantly praise, but it seemed like to me that the decision was made. Okay, we can't just not address it, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, new champions, no interim nonsense. It's just okay. They're gone, and it was not said how long anybody's gone, if they're going to come back, whatever. It was just okay. We've got new trios champions. We're going to crown a new world champion. Boom, done. I didn't like WWE, kind of side scolding it on SmackDown. That was kind of shitty. I'm not going to lie.
What'd they say? I missed it.
So, well, for one thing,
Fox.
Natty on Twitter, who we all adore Natty in this room, at least I do, JJ and I do, was having her assistant on Twitter, Bob, talk about, just kind of side mentioning the whole, eating the pastry thing, that
Paul yeah.
Just little shit. And then, they announced there was an internal investigation on Adam Pearce for what happened with Ronda. And it's just like, really? It's so, and the fact that people on the internet took it and completely went off on it. They could have been parodying their own damn selves with the thing going on with Vince for all we know. It's just so.
God! Did that happen too? Oh my God! I just remembered that.
Well, God, the thing with Vince, no. and again, we've all on this show kind of
Mm-hmm.
almost relished in the fact that something finally took him down. It's like, yeah, that's great. Vince needs to be held accountable for what happened and again, everything's all that word allegedly still, right?
Yeah, legally you have to say allegedly.
Exactly.
But, the fact that we honestly, and we can all admit at least a little bit, took a little bit of, okay, good, at least something's going to finally, put a crack in the armor and slow the old man down. It's like, why is that our why is that our Giddy? Why is that a thing? Like, why are we taking happiness in the downfall of this man who his entire life has been this? Like, he's not going to go, into the his home in Connecticut and do anything else. He's going to sit there and wither away and die because this is what he does. This is what he knows. And that's sad, for me. And it might seem a little hypocritical for me to say that because I've not been kind about talking about Vince McMahon a lot over the years, but this entire summer, I'll even say the whole summer has just been laden with almost the complete resurgence of the toxicity of the IWC. Like it's increased so exponentially, and your article and the buzz it's generated. Most of it good. I know you still got the backlash, and Lord knows it's going to happen, especially on that damn 280 character platform. Let's not even front.
Yeah. Actually wasn't as bad, I thought.
The fact that the article was there, and people are seeing it and they're responding to it, and that is so timely. And I think that with what happened with Vince, or what we found out, I should say, happened with Vince, been brewing for a long time. People being allowed to see
the inside of a wrestling industry.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Twitter, social media is the best and worst thing that ever happened to professional wrestling.
Exactly.
I've said that for years. Social media, period, but especially Twitter. Being able to see exactly what CM Punk was really about, and not that glossy, made up for Chicago TV pretty filter he got a year ago. Because he went and sat at that table, and that was straight up Phil being pissy. That's just what it was. And whether we agree with him and his reasons for being pissy or not, they finally broke down all the walls and was like, all right, look, I'm old, I'm tired, I work with fucking children. It's like, well, yeah, Phil, you do. But you also went out there a year ago and said, don't tear down your coworkers, don't do this and that. It's like, dude, if you're that tired, and again, I saw, and I think it was one of our No DQ teammates, so forgive me if I'm wrong on that, but it was mentioned that the injury he sustained, when you sustain an injury, it messes with your head. I don't care what line of work you're in, especially in athletics. If you sustain an injury, it mind F's you. It does.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that could be part of it. But again, that I said it on either Sunday night or Monday morning. That starts at the top. If you've got talent who is at least kind of outwardly expressing that, you're not going to have a good situation, you as the boss need to, you go sit over there until you cool down, go have a water, have a Pepsi or whatever you need to do. There you go. Yeah. Or whatever the hell they were drinking on that damn table.
Yeah.
He was mad to take Coke instead of Pepsi.
I saw your tweet saying, what if he was mad because he was hangry?
You know what?
There might be some point to that.
He just had a war with John Moxley.
When you get to be ages like Moxley and Phil, I'm even in that age. God, I hate that I'm up there in the age bracket myself. You get hangry. Shit happens. Get a Snickers for real. I mean, really.
I almost did the whole Snickers ad overlay on it, but I didn't want to fuel the fire. You know what I mean?
Because people can't take a joke, sadly.
You know what? Jeff, you just so wonderfully explained your feelings and how you feel about that, and how Phil, CM Punk leaving the ring and then Phil entering that press conference, how that upsets you and why you feel it should upset. Here's the thing. Because it's pro wrestling, there are a lot of people out there, and I think every single one of us has a little piece in our mind that's going, is this a work? Yep. Is this a work? Is this wrestling? Is this an elaborate work? That's what, people go to that. This is not CM Punk leaving and Phil entering and being mad and destroying the locker room from the inside or whatever. This is an elaborate storyline.
Right.
For ratings.
Almost everything feels like a storyline anymore when it comes to this happened and insert wrestling here.
Well,
right.
It's, again, we've been so conditioned, and I'm not blaming this specific person. Please do not send me heat tweets, Glenn or Conan or whoever, but we've been so conditioned in the Russo era to believe everything we're seeing is bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're being smoked one way, smoke screen one way or the other. So we don't know how to filter. But from the other side of that, us being, doing what we do every single week, every single night, sometimes, the week, if you're on No DQ or on this channel for a while, the burden of knowledge is a mucker fudder. Yeah. It's the worst. And, again, Jess, you have friends in the AW locker room. And I know I have friends that have, I've been friends with for 20 years or more that work for that company. And you hear stuff and it's like, I don't want to know that, but okay, cool. Yeah. And then, when we come on here, it's just like, oh, the company's just and again, part of what Punk said was not wrong. You've got guys that were running, even though it got as big as it has become and is still going, strong-ish,
I think they could
guys are running a glorified indie company. For the last 20 years.
Though. Let's be real. The Young Bucks could totally manage a Target.
They could. I've seen it. I know they can. And considering, where they originate.
That's the one thing I had concern with that. I was like, they could totally run a Target. What are you talking about?
They can run anything. You kidding me?
Seriously.
Put Young Bucks on something and boom, it's an instant seller.
There were two things that Punk said that didn't make me completely violently ill. The one was flat out mentioning that a lot of this is they're trying to run AEW like PWG. And JJ and I can speak from experience. Not the way to go. At all.
No. Oh, he said that? I didn't see that part.
Well, Punk mentioned the Bucks without saying their names and also mentioned the city of Reseda, which is where PWG ran for years.
Yeah.
So that was what that comment meant, by the way. The other thing was him shitting on the Pittsburgh Penguins. I am here for that all day.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That was I popped for that.
Everybody from Pittsburgh is pissed.
Well, of course they are. Of course they are. But being a LA King season ticket holder all my life, it's like, yeah, you can shit on Cross. That's fine. Go ahead and sit the kid. That's okay. I like Sydney. I like the Penguins. I just thought it was funny that in all this craziness, he kept shitting on them, and so much so that when Jericho popped up there and he mentioned the guy too, I'm like, oh god, now Chris is going to start on this poor dude.
So the domino effect waiting to happen.
He didn't though, because Chris recognizes that the league is awesome right now, so it's okay. He's been involved with hockey his whole life too because of his dad. But other than that, it was just a mess, and it was very disheartening to the point where I was very upset, and I had somebody mention to me in the car Wednesday night going down to Hollywood. My buddy Travis was like, nobody's talking about WWE's post conference, like because nobody went out of line to anything stupid.
As far as we know, or so reported.
Triple H went to that podium, said what he said. My dad's favorite phrase: "State your name, state your business."
Yes.
Triple H went up there, shilled about the company, promoted the show the next night, talked about bringing Bad Bunny back in. Oh, whoops, I wasn't supposed to say anything, but he did. Just little things. So Vince-like. So good. Roman went up there and did Roman things. Said one thing and walked out. It's like, that's what you do.
Yep.
You get people to, like, fine, not react like the media did in Chicago.
New Japan as well. Just saying.
Yeah, New Japan honestly, I think has been, and again, this goes back to Tony and AEW trying to take all the best things from everybody and do it on their own platform. New Japan's done press conferences for years, but if they ever get out of hand, it's because they're supposed to.
Right, they're very scripted.
Or
they're at least bullet pointed. I don't want to
No. I don't mean the promos. I mean the actual layout of the conference itself, right? Like Hogan going out there in 2003 with the bloody face after having that match and Jarrett whacking the guitar. Yeah, that was supposed to lead to where it was, and it didn't because Hogan went back and
Hogan pulled a Hogan, Terry pulled a Bollea.
Well, Hogan pulled a Hogan, but also McMahon pulled a McMahon and threw more money at Hogan again. That's what happened. Yeah.
And not the only time
offered the Hall of Fame back. But again, that was all meticulously, laid out. Whatever.
Here's the problem with the AEW press conferences, right? Is when you look at something like New Japan, things get out of hand there because well, these people are like probably, cutting, promos off the cuff quite a bit, and then, like you said, bullet points maybe.
Backstage.
They are
backstage.
still in character.
Yep.
When you have an AEW press conference, you have a mixture of people that are going to be their character or their actual selves. And so
you don't know which.
when you have Keith Lee and Swerve come into the interview, kayfabe, in character, and then you have people asking stupid questions that are very much not kayfabe to them, it makes no sense, and it's ridiculous. But then you have, I don't know, someone else, and they're talking about
Jericho came in and was a good mix of both. He was the only one that was a good mix of both.
Jericho constantly does that. He even does that on commentary. Yeah, he's this character, but he still also gives you that other side of him that talks about the actual talent to push forward AEW.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, he mentioned quite a bit between commentary and when he was at the media scrum. Some of the matches. Somebody asked him if he ever was talked about doing a Fozzy concert post AEW. It's like, dude, go on the Jericho cruise every freaking night.
Yeah.
all 3 nights, man. He's out there with Fozzy, and then he's out there wrestling. He didn't wrestle all 3 nights this last time, but he still does it.
That's on my bucket list, by the way. One of these days,
dude. Wait till 2024. I can probably go to that one. I can't go next year.
You and me both, Noah. You and me both.
Seriously, 2024, folks. Make it happen.
Noted. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I do have a couple of questions that were starred here.
Okay.
Elizabeth Delgado wants to know, based on all that has happened post All Out, do we think that Ospreay Omega will still happen at Wrestle Kingdom in Tokyo?
Well, the fact that it's only one night, I would not rule it out, because that to me screams semi-main event. This match is up there to feel as big as my favorite Wrestle Kingdom of all time. Wrestle Kingdom 12, which, Jesse, it had Omega versus Alpha. Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. I can definitely see that happening at WrestleMania 17 next year.
How do you?
So, I remember reading that Kenny's contract is up in 4 months. Is that an accurate read? I
have no
somebody.
Idea. What?
If it is, I'm hearing he's not going to turn down the next WWE offer. So
if he does that, I'm quitting.
Right, that's the only thing that'll prevent Wrestle Kingdom 17 versus Ospreay is if he signs with WWE.
Well,
but he can also very easily, say, "Hey, Hunter, can I sign in February?"
Though, and I respect that.
Can I sign in February? Can I do this match? Because people have been talking about this match.
An individual is going to choose what they want to do with whatever company in the wrestling industry.
Because it's their life, not ours, and we have to
exactly
accept that. Sorry,
exactly.
No, you're fine.
The only thing I want to mention when it comes to Kenny and the whole press conference as a whole, we mentioned a lot about Phil and what he did wrong, but I don't think there's a lot that the Elite also screwed up on too. And I'm not talking about leading up to what happened. I'm talking about what happened after the damn press conference.
Yes.
There's a couple and there's a couple reasons I say that. Because what we know is one of 2 options as of right now, unless something new completely just comes out of nowhere from Max, who was apparently a witness to this whole thing. Number 1, they walked in and it was still 5 guys, and Punk felt threatened that there was even 5 guys recording him, probably for their BTE show, and he got offended that they even recorded him without his permission in his own locker room, and that's why the fight happened. Or B, they busted into his locker room and all hell broke loose. I want to think it's the frickin' former, but either one is just as bad. You're not one of the boys anymore. You are an EVP. You're supposed to act diplomatically when it comes to situations like that. Not go in there and try to film it for your frickin' BTE show. That's like the complete wrong move, which allegedly is what happened. So
okay, I was gonna say, yeah. Make sure you throw that word in there because
allegedly that's what happened. Yeah. Both are alleged.
Right.
And I will also say this because I did one of the things I did make a point about referencing on my little brief thing I did Thursday was the argument allegedly from Ace Steel was that he was protecting his wife. So you protect your wife by throwing a chair across the room.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Screams No.
Yeah, that screams sus. Is what that screams.
That's very suspect.
Playing Among Us.
And then again, you know, the other thing we hear is that the Elite did go in there, you know, looking to, you know, calm it down, and apparently Kenny was the one that got Larry out of there, which thank God for that. But again, you know, but again, she was allegedly there.
Yeah.
Josh, to come in.
Question.
Here's the thing, and I think, you know, listening to everyone talk about this, and this is kind of like how I feel about backstage drama as a whole.
Yep.
Right.
I am a stupid mark that doesn't know shit. MJF was right, okay?
Yes. Thank you for saying that out loud.
Listen,
that's
honestly,
tremendous.
I'm not saying I'm like an AEW insider or anything, but you know, even just going to the AEW heels like get-togethers and meeting the female wrestlers there, like, you learn to like the people behind the character, and you learn that, you know, kind of talking about all this stuff. Like, I really have no idea what goes on backstage, you know?
No.
And I wish more people could understand that, like, these are just, like, rumors. And, like, while we're sitting here, like, discussing the rumors and saying, if it was this way, if it was that way, then here's what needs to happen. There are people who are like, oh, no way, that happened and this happened? It's like tabloids, you know what I mean?
Right,
yeah.
Like,
Right.
It's all rumor, because at the end of the day, none of us were there.
But we like to think that we know or were there in a situation because how it is exposed in media.
Right.
Exactly, and you want to feel like, you know, just because you may know somebody who works with the company or is backstage, how do you know they're not fading you too?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Again, what is real? What is a work?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those deals. I've tried very hard, and if I've ever strayed from this, Lord, I own it now, here and now, at whatever the hell time it is right now. You know, at quarter to 9 at night on a Saturday, I own it now. I have tried very hard to not propagate it out there until I hear from the people who were actually there, or, you know, there's some sort of pretty, you know, cut and dry press release about something. So until we hear Kenny Omega or the Bucks or whoever else was allegedly in that room that got suspended, or Tony flat out say so and so and so and so, I'm just gonna watch Wednesday nights, and if I'm home on Friday nights, and enjoy the wrestling and try very hard to take the Noah Foster approach, because Lord knows he is the calmest dude in the room when we talk about this crap on the regular. Yep. So I've lost enough hair as it is in my life over stress. Nothing to do with wrestling, thank God. So
I have this book right here, and you know, Twitter, I think, you know, it induces that visceral anger, outrage reaction kind of right away. And here's the problem. That is the danger of anger. It instills a feeling of self-justification and righteousness that can override our better judgment.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Which
once that trigger's pulled, once that button is pushed, it's very fight or flight. It's definitely a key thing.
Fight.
Exactly.
It is so much easier to get angry than to remain calm. It is. Trust me. I going with being in therapy and having this issue my entire adult life.
Bring out the knives. Bring out the pitchforks. Like I told you all, the only.
Let's not bring out any weapons, shall we?
Yeah, but that just feels like metaphorically
speaking.
Stigma that people go to when they see this stuff. It's like, Grr! It's one thing to react to someone like, you, Jezebel, did this to this man in the ring. It's another thing, though, to, you know, propagate this individual in a much more cooler manner where you almost sound like you're threatening their well-being.
Yeah. Right. And keep in mind, it took man to create the Frankenstein monster. But once man couldn't control it, out came the torches. Out came the pitchforks.
Right. Jesse, it's like I told these gentlemen, and I'll tell you, I have only been part of this so-called internet wrestling community as self-named since 2018, discovering No DQ when I decided to leave my introverted lifestyle to go out and be a wrestling fan at NXT. Black and Gold, not my NXT, not my NXT. That was for you. That was for you, JJ.
I know it was Noah.
That being said,
of course it was.
Jessi, now you know me. That being said, since then I've connected with people at No DQ. I've connected with people who we formed ATW. I've liked. I've basically reacted to simple, fun, humor, and engagement with people like you. I have no notifications on. I do not engage in Eric, my friend, inquiring tweets where it does bring, at times, a very diplomatic discussion, but then it leads to almost a virtual confrontation. And I'm like, unbelievable. The only time I engage anything news-wise is 3 platforms. Podcast, review, Jeff Meacham Network 2. That's it.
Yeah, that's
the only time I actually see news on Twitter is when I open the feed and I'm like, oh, that's a thing? Or somebody tells me.
Yeah.
I don't scroll, I don't follow, and I don't feed the machine. I just simply try as a fan to enjoy wrestling.
Damn it.
Damn it.
By the way, I can confirm that this is exactly what Noah does. I'm a witness to this. You have me on the record. I wish I could be more like him. Because, like, this week with wrestling, I think Jeff mentioned this in passing. Especially with when your article came out, it really put things into freaking perspective for me. It's like, okay, I got, like, this is basically how I had to do it, because originally I said it in an angry way, because this shouldn't have gotten as out of hand as it did backstage.
But you were reacting on instinct and on impulse, and again, to allude to what Jesse's talking about, human psychology, the human mind of interpretation. That was your initial thought. And you can't hold yourself against that.
Right.
What's important, James, is you're realizing, though, what you did, and you're trying to, move on from that so it doesn't happen again. Bottom line, you are trying to continue to enjoy what you love without social media destroying it.
And that's the thing.
You're trying to do what Noah says every week when he signs us off. Protect your mentality.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like, I need
you can't do it 100%. You can try your best every day.
And I can't help anybody, and I realize this because I've done so many rants that ad nauseums, like, whether they're good, bad, indifferent, rants are rants, even if I'm diplomatic about it. It's got to the point when I read that article, and then everything happened, that I was in Vermont, and it was funny, because Jeff had a similar thing on the frickin' Jericho cruise. This is basically what happened to me. I heard about the news, and I'm just like, why do I give a damn about any of this? Like, I got beautiful mountains in front of me. The view is amazing. I'm in a frickin' lake one day.
Wow.
I'm doing mini
You're
golf.
Outside. You're outside.
I'm outside. Holy Christ almighty on a cracker.
Nature is real. It's not fighting between 4 sides of steel cables.
Right. And so it's like, I needed to, after that happened, I was like...
That's accurate.
Yeah, that's accurate. There was a couple things that kind of made me realize a lot of things. I'm like, number one, before I can even help this community, I gotta help myself. Number two, when I come back in a month...
You deserve it.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you need to when you can.
And number two is, like, when I do come back, I want to take a different approach than how I've been doing it, because I feel like what I've been doing has not worked, and I feel like, and this is just for me, it's hurt my own personal life to a degree, because when you hold all that anger for the thing that you're supposed to love, right, and you have all this other outside stressors, right,
right,
that's not great.
Scenario.
That's not great for anybody's.
I can't pay this bill. My little nephew can't get through school. My mom's doing this. Lord help me. There is more critical things in life to worry about than what you read in a freaking virtual publication that you think is real.
That's sad. I'd appreciate if my professional wrestling stuck to fiction and not do this work shoot crap. Leave Russo out of it.
I'm like, I'm already stressed out enough. Come on.
That's the thing,
Thank you! I'm so glad you said it, too.
That's the way they've shaped it. It's never going to go back to that.
Yeah, no. Gotta draw money.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Clickbait.
You know, I don't know.
Trash, baby.
MJF and Phil Brooks. I don't know. CM Punk and MJF. I was just saying, their whole thing was based on fiction with some hints of reality, sure. But there was basically mostly fiction, and that drew a big house. I was just saying, that was all fiction.
I loved that, people were. Well, first of all, thank you for bringing up the Jericho Cruise, because I'll never forget when I read the drama. It was funny. I don't think we were even on the ship yet, or we were either not on the ship yet, or we were already
it was Charlotte. It was Charlotte and
it was
Becky.
the whole Becky Charlotte thing on SmackDown where they got in a little lover's quarrel backstage
over the belts.
They fought backstage, right?
Oh.
Yeah, and Jesse, hand to God, I'm literally on the freaking deck on the balcony of my cabin. And my dad actually saw my face. I just like,
yeah, don't brag,
I'm like,
you dick.
Why? I look out. My freaking backyard's the Atlantic Ocean. Why am I mad at this? What the freaking?
That was me. I'm like, my backyard's the freaking mountains. Why am I complaining here?
Turn off your notifications.
Yeah.
Oh, I
and
don't
again, Noah, to my.
It would not stop. I have like my weather notifications on.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Weather, email.
I do have police scanner notifications though, so like anytime there's like a
with all the freaking threats you've gotten on that shithole site, I don't blame you one bit.
Yeah,
I don't blame you
Jesse.
one
I
bit.
believe that you need that. I respect that.
That is a necessity,
I
not a need.
And I have an app that I can put in anybody's license plate and find out who the owner is.
Hey,
that's a little frightening. That's a little frightening.
It's good.
The fact that app's like
drive
that
by your house.
I mean, to be fair, anybody could download that app, so it's like, it's not like she's
I will say this in my minor defense about the work location being on. I was on a wrestling cruise. So any other vacation, I'm like, yeah, no, that's not.
I think the bigger point was that
I know.
at those moments you were so immersed in what was happening in your real life. So even though it was a wrestling cruise, and while you were in Vermont, you were actually like embracing something other than technology. Like that was not your priority.
Right. Exactly.
Because it's when you're on like something like that, or you're so like not disconnected, but when you're so in tune with nature, I want to say, or in tune with your physical environment around you. Right. That is when I feel like you can kind of go, you know what? I need to not like obsess in this world too much, because like for me, this summer it was really hard because I wasn't, walking my daughter to school and back every day, and I wasn't interacting with all the other moms, and I wasn't talking to them about what was going on. I wasn't like having as much human interaction as I was used to. I wasn't going to brunches with the moms, and I wasn't, doing the play dates or whatever. Right. It was just a lot of stuff, and it was too hot because I don't have a colon, so I can't, absorb water very well, so I can't go outside because it's 1,000 degrees in Florida and it's humid and I sweat. So I'm stuck inside.
Oh, it's so bad out here.
And you get immersed in this like world, and then you're like, oh fuck, and then it just becomes your everything, and then you.
Right.
But here's the thing with this tribalism, it's a very instinctual thing.
Exactly.
Thank God for football season.
Yes.
Which should help distract.
Channel your tribalism elsewhere.
The Green Bay Packers beat my team to hell with that. Yeah,
put the tribalism into pro sports. Leave it out of pro wrestling.
I want to also bring up a point that I don't know if, and this is something to keep in mind for all the people that are in the locker room, if they somehow listen to this, which I imagine maybe some actually will now. I want you to keep this in mind that, wrestling is not the only place where this can happen, where people have just had enough and want to get away because of nonsensical drama that didn't need to happen. I'll give you a great example for an actual sport that actually has punching for real. Anybody remember?
Oh, that happened in UFC, yeah.
Anybody remember the freaking fight that happened? The fighting card that happened between Khabib and Conor McGregor.
Where he threw a chair in a bus or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and well, I mean, there was a lot more than that as well, but it's like
there was like charges pressed, wasn't there?
Yeah, it there was already so much buzz, whether it was positive or negative, but it did a huge pay-per-view buy because of the interest of the fight, right? What then proceeded to happen was the best fight card UFC MMA has ever seen. And it's the one that nobody will ever talk about. You want to know why? There's a couple of reasons, really. Number one, Derek Lewis with Joe Rogan talking about how his balls is hot. And the other one was freaking Conor McGregor's camp. And that's a legit thing. And the other one is Conor McGregor and Khabib Nurmagomedov's camp going at each other like a bunch of wild animals after the fight was officially over. And making what Dana White straight up condemned and called a mockery of the sport.
Oh.
In a very similar situation to what the hell has happened with pro wrestling with the Bucks and Kenny. And Punk. Like that, if that can happen there, like, don't be surprised if that can happen to wrestling, because it will. And especially now after a pandemic has happened, and so much political unrest, and all these other things going on in life, whatever personal beef everybody's going through, I want every wrestler to keep in mind, nobody wants their outside drama in something that, especially by nature, should be story-driven. Nobody wants that in their entertainment, especially with all this unrest going on right now.
Speaking of the unrest going on right now, Psycho Jet White had a question.
Yeah.
Where he says that he sees AEW either folding or going way down in growth and overall presence in the next 1 to 2 years based off of what's happened this last week if it keeps going down the path that it's on. What do you guys think about that?
It's funny you say that because Psycho Jet White also left a comment on my channel also saying the same thing, so I guess he definitely wanted us.
He wanted to be acknowledged.
He got timed out because he was trolling, because it's the Psycho Jet Black from the other channel, and I blocked him on my channel already, so he decided to sign up with a different account. So he was trolling, so he got dismissed. However, I did like the question. I forgot to start myself because I can't start where I'm at now. It's funny that number was mentioned because Travis and I were talking in the car on the way down, and Travis is my buddy Travis, not Greg's buddy Travis, is so out of the hardcore fan loop these days. He mentioned 2 to 3 years.
Yep.
Again,
based on what's gone down in the last year, and again,
that's a bad
we can't put everything on CM Punk. It's not just him. However, the cracks in the armor have definitely showed a lot more in the last 13 months. I can't even argue that.
And then, like Josh says, the fact that Cody's in WWE, Omega wants to sign, and the Bucks have sent out feelers tells you what a 5-alarm fire Tony Khan is in.
But to counter that, yes, Cody is there. I can't argue that. We saw him at WrestleMania. He tore his pec. We saw that. He's actually there. We've heard that Omega will sign a contract. We've been told that the Bucks sent out feelers. Did Matt and Nick say that?
No. Not at all. We haven't.
And again,
here's the thing. I'm not going to sit here and worry about stuff that A, I don't even know has happened, or B, don't know that's going to happen. What I can do is, say, yeah, that whole thing sucks, but let's hope they learn and grow from it. Whatever happened. Like, I'm not going to worry about it.
Yes.
I'm not going to
move forward.
Like, that, and that's the thing. Like, and and it's that whole anger and that fear, that fight or flight response. It's literally fight or flight. You want to fight. That's like your human instinct, And I'm not even saying this about like the companies as a whole. And to answer the question, I don't know, because I can't tell the future. But that opinion is your opinion, and you are more than allowed to have it. I will not sit
Absolutely.
here and degrade you for concluding that based on things that have happened and your perception of them. I won't.
There's the word perception.
Yep.
Everything that is being said here tonight is based on our perception of a what if or a response to a question. Nothing is literally.
Oh, guys, it's midnight on 9/11. Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to shut up because I think it's only fitting right now because.
Well,
if we had a 10 bell
5
salute,
a.m. for sure.
You got that 10 bell
Sorry,
salute.
I just had to give
Jeff?
like a moment of silence and, you know.
No, you're good. You're good.
I wish we had a 10 bell salute, to be fair.
It's jeez.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it, Jeff. Don't worry about it.
No, you have to remember, I'm the one running things. I'm the one running the production table now.
That is true. By the way, Psycho Jet White in the comments, the minute we say that, USA, we talk about perception for a minute. There's a couple of perceptions I want to read off from my comment section, because I'm streaming this via my OBS. My dad, who's actually watching this with us, commented.
Hi.
He called there was a couple things just for joking purposes, just to lighten the mood a little bit. Love what Punk said. He didn't mind what Punk said. He's kind of old fashioned that way, but he also said the young clerks. I thought that was funny. But he also said, in relation to our comment, Jeff, about the ship and my trip to Vermont, you can't be grateful and miserable at the same time.
Oh,
that's a key
love
word.
that.
Love that.
That is profound. Yeah, it's funny. So the news broke about that little tiff Charlotte and Becky had, whatever. That was the first night we were fully out to sea because it was we were on the ship because it was SmackDown Friday. It was SmackDown Friday. So so we were out on the water. I put the phone down for a few minutes to go change into proper attire of where I was going. Went out to watch the wrestling card, and then I went to the Paradise Kitty concert in the first night in the atrium, and that was the night that Jericho went on stage with them and sang "Sweet Child of Mine" with the girls.
That's so
where I had my girls are on stage and the entire locker room sold out this place. Like, if lightning hits the boat, I'm good moment. Like, this is hours after I got a momentary of, why am I mad? Like, it's just weird how the universe works itself out sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
Exactly.
Bizarre as hell.
Again, like I said, I watch wrestling. I could be tired, pissed. I could be in a whole different state of mind. But as soon as I see that thing on my screen, I'm better. This is my happiness. This is what I've enjoyed since 1992. First seeing the British Bulldog and Bret the Hitman Hart. This is what I've lived, eat, slept, and breathed by in my worst of times. When I nearly lost my family and my house at one point. Wrestling has always been there for me, despite its controversy. And the controversy's been there since as long as I've been alive.
Right, and I think that is such an important point to make. And I feel like, and I kind of go into this in the conclusion, is we have to remember, and Dave LaGreca talks about this all the time.
Yep.
We're all on the same team. We are not a majority anymore. We're a minority. You tell somebody like Joe Schmo out there, like in line at the grocery store waiting to check out that you're a pro wrestling fan, you're probably going to get a
preach.
That's big, right?
Preach.
Really?
I feel like I'm the only pro wrestling fan in Toledo besides my brother from church.
Right, exactly. It's
that's another thing, because another person we haven't even touched on that it's funny you bring that up. Mm-hmm. One of the people is one of us that's running AEW, Tony Khan. My dad even said, like, I think the owner learned his lesson about communicating better. That's a thing we also have to mention. Like, communication is key,
and it doesn't matter what business, it doesn't matter what approach. We are all flawed in it and constantly